Under raging storm clouds, a lone figure stands silhouetted against the ancient walls of Castle Ravenloft. The vampire Strahd von Zarovich stares down the sheer cliff at the village below. A cold, bitter wind spins dead leaves about him, billowing his cape in the darkness. Lightning splits the clouds overhead, casting stark white light across him. Strahd turns to the sky, revealing his angular muscles of his face and hands. He has a look of power and of madness. His once handsome face is contorted by a tragedy darker than night itself. Rumbling thunder pounds the castle spires, and the wind's howling increases as Strahd turns his gaze back to the village. Far below, yet not beyond his ken, a party of adventurers has just entered his domain. Strahd's face forms a twisted smile as his dark plan unfolds. He knew they were coming, and he knows why they have come. All according to his plan. He is the master of Ravenloft and will attend to them. Another lightning flash rips through the darkness, its thunder echoing the castle's towers. But Strahd is gone. Only the howling wind, or perhaps a lone wolf, fills the midnight air. The master of Ravenloft is having guests for dinner, and you are invited. You find yourself and your party at Castle Ravenloft looking at the overwhelmingly tall, dark oak doors with an invitation to dinner from Strahd himself. As you stand there and begin to notice a heavy fog begin to close in on your characters, you see red eyes pierce through the fog. What do? This is a scenario you might run into as a player of this game. You, the player, are able to live vicariously through your PC and traverse whatever fantastical world your DM spun for you and your party. For many people, Dungeons & Dragons is viewed as a nerdy no-go for them, but I'm here to confirm the nerdy, but change your view on it, and even make you want to try your hand at it, as well as dispel the illusion that it's too complicated to try. Dungeons & Dragons has been around for many years now, but has grown into popularity recently after the Netflix original show Stranger Things brought it into a new light. To get started, I'll go over a brief history of Dungeons & Dragons. D&D, or Dungeons & Dragons, was something that started off as a small project and grew into popularity till it was published. It's a fantasy tabletop RPG, or role-playing game, that was originally designed by Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson, and first published in 1947 according to geekandsundry.com. This game that was created was not something that was meant for only people that are heavily invested in math or anything of that sort. Anyone and everyone can pick up the rules and join in. The rules may seem like a lot at first, but once you know the basics, the rest will come to you as you play. Many people play D&D in their lifetime that you might have never expected, and there are some ties to their success that stem from it. One of the common links of playing D&D that was found between Elon Musk, Stephen Colbert, and Steven Spielberg was shown through a psychology study that was done playing games like D&D that showed that it increases your comprehension, attention span, critical thinking, and that's all according to ideas at TED.com. These skills were all increased by regularly playing D&D, so any kind of hobby or something like that that can be linked to D&D, or just as a fun activity, can actually benefit you. For a long time, people associated the game to cultist activities due to there being demons and such in the game, according to the University of Melbourne blogs. That often put a poor image of Dungeons & Dragons out, but it didn't stop people from getting together and playing. D&D was popularized in the 80s when people were very skeptical about cult activity and quick to assume the worst of it. But I don't see, personally, a group of nerds fighting imaginary monsters and eating snacks as cult activity. Studies show that people who play these games do not differ in any way from non-players in antisocial behavior, psychoticism, neuroticism, emotional stability, and homicidal tendencies. Sure, some people who play may seem more introverted, but playing this game with new people can even help you break out of the shell. If that's something you struggle with, participating in this fun activity could really help you branch out. To get to the fun part of the game, you need to have a base knowledge of what goes into it. I will explain some of the components and how they can be fun or useful. All you really need to run Dungeons & Dragons is a DM, players, dice, and some basic rules. The DM, or Dungeon Master, is the person in charge of creating the world, narrating, running the session, and playing all the NPCs or non-player characters, which can be a great creative outlet for people to use as well if you want to try your hand at that. They need to be able to lead the campaign and guide players through scenarios that they weave, building quick thinking skills along the way, because you never know what your players are going to do. Players have to be gathered in order to run a D&D session as well. All you need here are some close friends or even new people to join in. Social interactions with fun friends and a fun environment that doesn't break the bank can greatly improve your mental health as well. All of the dice that you will need are a D4, a D6, a D8, a D10, a D12, a D20, and a D100. The D20 is the most used die in Dungeons & Dragons because it's used for all ability checks. Ability checks can be anything from investigation to find footprints, or sleight of hand to swipe an important document from a guard. The rule books that you will be used for D&D can be found online or bought as a book, or even completely created by the DM. Now, I'm sure that you've heard to some extent that D&D is a difficult game to comprehend or that there are too many rules for it to be fun. But then somebody just needs to explain it to you or help you through it. It's a simple concept to grasp and apply to gameplay. I'm now going to briefly explain to you the rules to take away from any of the intimidation of joining a group and not knowing what to do. I'll explain the 4 main components of Dungeons & Dragons: character creation, exploration, interaction, and combat. The first part of D&D is deciding on what character to play. Now this can often be one of the hardest parts of it because this is something that you get to live through vicariously. A character can be broken down into 3 components: race, class, and skills. Race can determine what physical features you have and some of the abilities that you have naturally, such as some races being able to see in the dark. Some of the basic races include dwarves, elves, humans, gnomes, and others. Your class is what your character excels in or does, and it dictates what abilities they can perform best, such as a rogue being able to be more stealthy, or a barbarian who can punch a hole through a steel door. Some of the basic classes are wizard, rogue, fighter, and bard. Skills or abilities are built from both your race and your class. These abilities can be strength, which would be being able to punch a goblin; dexterity, which would be able to sneak around a goblin; constitution, which would be able to outdrink or have more health than a goblin; intelligence, being able to recognize a goblin or the history of a goblin; wisdom, which would be able to know how to kill a goblin; or charisma, being able to persuade a goblin. According to Displayer.com, a majority of people choose human for their race and fighter for their class as their beginning character. Creating a character can often be seen as an outlet for you to live however you want, and lets you live vicariously through your character, whether it's being a sneaky, conniving rogue or a brilliant, valiant knight. Exploration is another huge part of D&D. You will lead your player through many different places, cities, villages, swamps, castles, and so on. So how would you go about that? You will be given some sort of adventure hook that will set you and your characters up to head towards a destination where you can explore along the way. Some key elements of exploration are looking for food, clues, treasures, and other odds and ends. To go about this, you simply tell the DM what you'd like to do and roll to see if you succeed. Interaction dominates almost every aspect of the game because you can interact with almost everything in the game, including people, monsters, animals, natures, and other entities. Interaction can be anything from intimidation to persuasion to deception. This is a way to avoid conflict or absolve it entirely. Let's say that there's a guard blocking the gate to a city that was on lockdown. You could handle the situation by doing something like deceiving him into believing you're a noble in the court with crucial information, persuading him by flirting a little or slide some coin his way, intimidating him into letting you pass if he values his life. Combat can be the result of a bad run-in, failed interaction, or even just stumbling on some no-good thugs. The function is combat turn-based. The order is based on the initiative roll. Every player will roll a d20 at the beginning of combat, then add dexterity bonus to the number that's rolled. The highest will go first, and if there is a tie, the person with the higher dexterity will go first. Once the order is determined, it's time to fight. Choose a weapon or a spell that your character can use, and roll to attack. You will roll a d20 to see if you hit, then roll for damage if your attack hits. This pattern will continue until everyone has gone, and then repeat until the conflict is resolved. All of these components greatly contribute to your comprehension, attention span, and critical thinking, simply by playing and consistently having new scenarios thrown at you where you need to plan, collaborate, and think on your feet helps to increase these different skills. So those who see this as just an overcomplicated and nerdy way to pass time fail to see all the benefits and fun that can be had. Now that you know some of the basics and how to play, the intimidation of all the rules doesn't have to weigh you down. You can just get some cool dice and go. According to the Wizards of the Coast, this has been a source of inspiration for many artists of all kinds. Why not let it be yours? As you can see, D&D is just as nerdy as it sounds, but why should you let that hold you back from getting together with friends and immersing yourself into a world of fantasy and getting lost in your own imagination? You now have a full arsenal of knowledge that you need to get started without worrying of getting overwhelmed by all the rules. So next time you watch Lord of the Rings and feel inspired, Find some free time, a fun group of friends, crack open the rulebook, and delve into the world of fantasy and fun that is D&D and live life to the fullest. So grab your friends, buy some snacks, get your luckiest dice, and get ready to roll for initiative. Thank you for watching my persuasive speech today. My name is Rose Bowman. My audience today was Catherine Young, Colton Askew, and Hallie Miles. Thank you so much. Have some nerdy fun.